BookTube. Today I'm coming to you with the review of one of my most anticipated releases of 2021, and that is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. If you do not know, it follows Maverick, who is the father of Star Carter, who is the main protagonist in The Hate U Give, book that I really loved. And I have loved everything that Angie Thomas has ever put out. On the Come Up, 5 stars. The Hate U Give, 5 stars. The writing journal that she created, 5 stars. And so, this book was no different. She has such a way of creating complex, detailed characters that makes you so interested in their lives and what happens to them as if they're real people. She just has such a way of making characters and worlds come to life. This was a different kind of story for her to write because it is technically historical fiction, and I just really enjoyed seeing some of those elements come through in this book with the mention of pagers and some of the songs that people were listening to back then, and also some of the players and teams that people were supporting. I think Mav was a Lakers fan, and the Lakers were really prominent back then. No, yes, they're pretty prominent now because they're the Los Angeles Lakers, but back then we were talking about Kobe and Shaq and what they might be, and it was really interesting because we all know, well, if you follow basketball, you know what Kobe and Shaq did in the early 2000s. But yeah, the historical fiction aspect of this book, while subtle, was really cool, but let's get to the actual meat of this story. A lot of this book talks about being a parent for the first time, having to support this little person who depends solely on you to get food, to get to sleep. They depend on you, and it deals a lot with Maverick struggling to raise this child of his. The main struggle that he has is to get enough money to support his child, and that is a question that is explored a lot in this book, and I would say Angie Thomas is able to explore some of the more major problems in our current society related to drug dealing. But Maverick is just such an interesting character. He cares so much about his kids, cares so much about his family, and it is to his detriment at some times in this book. He definitely does suffer at times because of how much he cares about his family, and he learns so much about that kind of relationship in this book, and it leads to one of the more emotional scenes in this book for me, and undoubtedly for Maverick as well. I don't want to get into spoilers, but the scene is a huge turning point in Mav's life. So much of what Mav has learned about himself through the book is represented in that scene. If you've read this book, I think you'll know what scene I'm talking about. Angie Thomas books just always keep you turning the page. You always need to know what happened next. And I kept telling myself I was going to just stop reading. I need to go eat, or I need to do something else, even though I don't really because it's a weekend, but still. Do something else instead of sit down and read. But I just couldn't. I needed to know what happened next. And the pages just keep turning and things keep happening, and soon enough you're oh, another 100 pages into the book, and then you finished it. Oh my god. There were family tensions, there were questions related to school, and generally there were also just survival plot lines. And so many of the side characters are developed. I know I touched on that before, but Mr. Wyatt, Ma, Mo, Red, Lisa, King. I'm probably forgetting some, Aisha, Gray. There were just so many amazingly developed characters in this book. Also, this book was just so plain funny at times. Even in the darkest of moments, Angie Thomas still sprinkled in humor in these sad times when everyone was just silent, and it just really served to make, this book go faster, but also to make it seem more real and to make these characters seem more complex. Seven was hilarious, and it's so fun. I mentioned this before, but it's so fun to see Seven as a baby doing what he's doing compared to what we see him doing in The Hate U Give. And the last page of the epilogue is I knew that it was going to happen. I knew that was what the epilogue was leading up to, but it was still just so perfect. So Angie Thomas loves this metaphor of a rose growing on concrete, which is a allusion to a metaphor that Tupac created about a rose growing in concrete, which basically symbolizes someone who, despite all of the barriers, all of the prejudices that might be going against them, still is able to blossom and grow and be unique. And I mean, it's overtly used in this book. The title is Concrete Rose, but the way Angie Thomas utilized it in The Garden especially was just really cool. She did it in The Hate You Give. She probably did it on The Come Up. Just like, it's so creative and it's just so emotionally packed whenever she uses it. She really knows how to use it. Also, this has nothing to do with like the quality of the book, but there's a reference to Dear Martin in this book, which I just loved. If you've read Dear Martin, there's a reference to the main character in Dear Martin, which it was just amazing. I am 100% sure there were other references that I just didn't see because I was just turning the pages too quickly, but I saw that reference and I'm really happy that I did because I also really enjoyed Dear Martin. But yeah, that is my review of Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. I literally just finished it 5 minutes before I started recording this, but I just really wanted to get my thoughts out. I want to start doing book reviews for anticipated releases on my channel because I feel like there's no point in doing, at least for me, this is just my opinion, for doing book reviews like really popular books because they have already gotten like so many book reviews on YouTube. And I just feel like those book reviews are so oversaturated. But I feel like there aren't going to be that many Concrete Rose reviews or like lore because I eventually want to do a video review for that. And I also just can't go in depth in my wrap-ups. So these reviews are just my way to get all of my thoughts, or at least some of my thoughts, because I probably forgot something. And I don't know if I want to go into spoilers. Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to go into spoilers with your reviews, or if you even want these reviews, or if you guys even want these reviews. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Oh, there was queer representation in this book, and I did not see that coming. That was great. I don't know how I didn't forget that. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like. Comment down below what your thoughts on Concrete Rose were. Subscribe. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And I will see you next time with another video. Bye.